This is a Minecraft village. And the most important part of any village is, of course, its residents, the villagers. And the most important thing to the villagers, and to any living thing really, is food. Now, the village has a stable food supply, and we've developed it over time with the addition of new farms and a fishing settlement. But there are food problems within the village that need to be solved for the citizens to truly thrive. Now, as I said, the village has farms and fisheries. But due to the lack of a road between the two neighborhoods of the village, the residents of the fisheries don't actually have access to the farm food and vice versa. So before we can even assess the state of the village's food supply, we need to connect them up. So we developed a path. We curved it around the mountain and then pushed it through this little mountain pass. So both neighborhoods now have a unified food supply, so we can properly assess the village's food. Now, from the farms, the villagers get access to the following: pork, bread, carrots, and mutton. And now with the connected fisheries, we also have access to salmon, cod, and tropical fish. This is good, but I want the villagers to have access to more variety to improve their lives, so it was time to do a properly big agricultural development. So I wanted to develop this entire valley into a new farm district, and to do that, the first thing we need is roads. So I did some road building. I brought this road to the other end of the valley for some of its length and curved it around. And then I cut back down to create a block. Now on screen right now, I've put my general plan for what areas are going to be plots, and this is kind of what I based the road layout around. So with the new roads laid out, it was time to develop the first new farm, and it was going to be a cow farm. See, the cow farm provides many things. Beef, of course, which is a good new food source, and also milk and leather. And leather, by the way, we have needed for so long, so I'm so happy to finally get it. Now, me and KT built this red barn, as you can see, and it's very traditional in its design. And it's multi-purpose, because it gives the cows a place to shelter from the weather, and a place for us to store materials. Now, we built an interior trough, and a little path, and this is supposed to be like where the cows have trampled down the grass a bit by being around the trough so much. And we did a big hay bale. We also, a lot like the sheep farm, did an artificial lake for water. And this time we did it right in the middle of the pen. And KT did these neat rocks for decor. We planted some trees, and I tried to get a big tree to grow here by making this pile of wool. But honestly, all that did was suck up all our bone meal, so we just let it grow short. We flowered up, and then KT had this clever idea to use the desert straw in the pen for the cows to munch on. And there we go. We made a little window with trapdoors, and the cow farm was complete and looking great. Now, bringing cows in was not very hard, because there were a load of them wandering out back in this large field, so we brought them in. Now, with the cow farm built, we had 2 wheat-consuming animals on our farm, and we wanted to make sure this new wheat destination didn't strain our wheat supply, so we expanded the farm a little bit. And now, this new expansion should probably cover all the demand we might get. I've never had a problem with wheat before, but we're going to grow the sheep and cow population, so it's better safe than sorry. So, with that done, we moved on to the carrot farm. Now, I don't remember if I gave an update last episode, but the pig farm has gotten absolutely ginormous. Something about the huge island we made on the farm just makes me want to fill it up with pigs, like if you throw a goldfish in a lake and it grows bigger and bigger. So anyway, we expanded the carrot size to account for the growing population, and then we added an extra road between the carrot farm and the sheep farm. Now, with the new road, by the way, we created sort of this tiny plot by the sheep farm, so we decided to just expand the sheep farm into it. Because the space was too small for anything else. But for the sheep, especially since we're growing their population, it's going to be a welcome addition. And we decorated it a bit too. And look at that. Sheep walked into it right away. So continuing the fields, it's time for a whole new crop, beetroots. Now, we've actually had beetroot seeds since the very beginning of the village. I saw some growing in the original farm way back in episode 1. So I saved a seed because village farms often become dominated by one crop. And by the way, that very thing did happen. The farm is all wheat now, but luckily we can now revive beetroots. We built another lane, by the way. I'm breaking up this area with roads when I can to make sure it's easily navigable, because if it wasn't for these lanes, like if you wanted to get from this side to the other, you'd have to walk all the way around, but because of them, you can now easily cut through. And then it was time to place every single beetroot I had saved. Yeah, it's only one. But I'll keep growing beets over the course of this video and hopefully fill it all the way up. Now, next, since we've developed plenty of fields and the cow farm, it was time to make some residences for the farmers. So first, we started on a new house. Now, KT had the idea to give it a large front porch, and that's something you see in rural areas a lot. Also, we kept expanding the foundation of the house as we realized we made it too small like twice in a row. And in the end, we went for this L-shaped design, and then we used a pretty standard log and plank material set and a cobblestone roof. Now, the interior is where I think this house really shined. We had this cool idea to do an archway, so we could separate the house into a bedroom and kitchen area. And we did a bigger mix of colors instead of any particular theme, with orange beds and this light blue wool carpet. We torched up, then put down a red carpet in the main room, and a flower pot on the table. We also added a little painting. KT also had this cool idea to use the newish large clay pots with a smaller flower pot on top to make a large flower vase. And we used this again by the staircase, and then we did some old-fashioned bushes. Now, I don't know what it is in particular. Everything about this house is pretty simple and not that out of the ordinary, but I just think it came together really nice. Anyway, for the next house, we first marked out where the road would continue, so we knew our plot size, and then got to work. I decided to use stripped birch logs as the main wall block here, and that's very resource intensive because it doesn't split into 4 like planks, but I think it looks quite unique. We did use a cobblestone floor, and then I went for this cool tiered design for the interior floor, and I got this idea from ClickBlueprint, another YouTuber who makes videos like mine. Then, we did a standard oak roof, and I'm just gonna say I am loving the stripped birch oak combo. I just think it looks really good. Then, for the inside, first I did some paintings. And on this side wall, there was no window, and I realized I had an opportunity to finally use one of the big 4x4 paintings. See, they're some of the best looking paintings, but it's hard because you don't often have a wall so big you can actually fit them. So I put one up. I hung up this classic painting, and funny story about this painting, because as an adult I realized this is supposed to be a woman holding up a painting she made of a pig. But when I was a little kid in 2013, me and my friends for some reason all thought this was supposed to be a woman and a pig that was wearing a princess outfit, like a white veil or whatever you would call that Marie Antoinette type attire. And we all referred to this painting as the Princess Pig. Anyway, then we did some beds. And finally, with the cow farm, we were able to use bookshelves. Not too many, but we were able to afford these 4 with the leather we had. See, with the cow farm, you can expect lots more houses to finally have bookshelves. Then we did a little table by the window, which by the way has a great view of the beetroot farm. And then we added some shelves with plant pots and a red carpet. Oh, by the way, on our last video, Eden the Misfortunate 2892 pointed out that carpets cannot directly touch the door because villager hitboxes are too big. So I made sure to keep them away by 1 block and undid that in old builds where I had it. So there, we have some new residential area developed. Oh, and intriguingly, we're actually really close to the new fishing neighborhood at this point. Anyway, at the cow farm, I figured this was a good spot to develop a new workspace as well, the leather worker. I figure because it only works with cow materials, unlike the butcher who uses meats from many different farms, it can go directly on the cow farm. So we use these smooth stone slabs for walls. And these are a block I remember seeing used a lot more in the past, because for a while these were the slabs made by cobblestone, and then these were the slabs made by regular stone. And also, I think back in the day, there were less options for stone slabs, so that by necessity pushed them to the forefront. So you don't see them much anymore, but honestly, I think they're a pretty good-looking block that have a lot of beauty left to give, so I'm going to use them here. Anyway, we expanded the cow farm to connect directly to the leather workery. Now, this made the cow farm slightly bigger, and it gives the leather workers direct access. Now, on the inside, we did an oak plank floor, cauldrons, of course, which are the workspace for leather workers. And then, with the fence gate up, we destroyed the old fence and let the cows loose into the new area. We did a little table and chairs for the leather workers to relax and eat lunch at. We hung up a painting and made some more of these neat large vases. We then did another table between the cauldrons for the leather workers to do their leather working at. Now, with that new build done, I have another task. It seems like the fisheries have somehow cleared out of villagers, and this is weird because after episode 3, the population was growing, so I don't know what happened. But to make sure there was no risk of villager depopulation, I went back to the main neighborhood to breed them up. I harvested the wheat farm to make bread, and gave them tons of food. But oddly enough, it seems like the villager population in the main area is thriving. So I'll try and figure this out. But anyway, back in the farm area, I figured it was high time to do one of the most requested builds. And especially because it fits here so well, we're doing a farmer's market. And this can be multi-purpose as well. See, 1, it can be a place for the villagers to work and sell their wares, and 2, it can be a good and lively gathering place for the villagers who live in the district. So I got to work. I placed this archway, and that's going to be the hanging point for the bell, for the gathering place. And then I got to work on the stalls. Now, I think in real life, sometimes cities just don't focus enough on making good places for the citizens to hang out, and that's what I'm going to be making sure gets built here. So, I did 4 stalls. And in 2 of them, I did composters so farmers could sell their, vegetables. And then in this one, I did a barrel. So that way farm area residents could buy fish from the fishing area. And then finally in this one, I did a tool stall, because I'm sure the farmers are going to need a constant supply of those. Anyway, then I gave every stall a sign and displayed a few items. See, by the way, I do have pumpkins, you'll see in the item frame here. I got them from this patch way outside the village. And I will make a pumpkin farm in the future, so my villagers can eat a pie. It's just not at the top of my priority list at the moment. Then, to take advantage of this little area between the houses and the stalls, I planted some flowers and a couple trees to beautify. Anyway, it was then time to make a sugarcane farm. See, I've already had some sugarcane growing in the pond out back at the church, but I'm gonna need a lot more. So I filled this hole and got to work. Now, some of you might be able to guess the build that's coming after this from the fact that I'm building a sugarcane farm. But anyway, I didn't have quite enough sugarcane in my stockpile to fill up the farm once it was done, but it grows fast, so I'm not too worried. And speaking of unfilled farms, by the way, the beetroots have been growing extremely well. And look, from the amount that was harvested here, I was able to fill up the farm almost completely, and I will easily finish it next harvest. Anyway, as you may have guessed, cow farm plus sugarcane means leather plus paper means books in high quantities. So we can finally build the library. I harvested the sugarcane, bred up the cows and killed them a whole bunch. Also, I frequently found cows bathing in this trough, which is pretty funny. I mined stone, and by the way, listen to how great this sound sounds. What a cool sound there, right? Continuing, I also went on an adventure to the spruce forest. Now, it is way out past the pig farm, but I went there to get some spruce saplings to bring back. But you're not going to believe this. The second I came back from the spruce forest, a wandering trader selling spruce saplings arrived. But anyway, I got to work. I decided to build the library right here on the hill for 2 reasons. 1, when it's here, that means it can service both the fishing village and the farm village very easily. And the second reason I'll get back to later. Now, I used stone brick, but before I was able to really get into it, I had to do a large amount of terraforming, since the hill wasn't big enough for the whole building. That's okay though, because me and KT have huge amounts of dirt stockpiled from all the floors and pathways we've had to dig out. Then I got to work building the frame, and I wanted this to have some nice huge doorways. So aside from the front door, which will have actual doors in it, all of these were going to be big open archways that lead to separate areas. Then I built up the frame, and I filled it in with chiseled stone brick, which is a really neat block. Hey guys, I didn't have enough script here, so I'm here in the edit. Hi. And then I filled in the windows too. Next, I dug out the floor, and I filled it up with some of the spruce I got earlier. By the way, I've started a temporary spruce grove in the fishing village, and I'll clear that out once I'm done. And finally, I did the bookshelves. Now, even though I have a cow and sugarcane farm, I still don't have infinite leather, so I'm pretty limited in the amount of bookshelves I have. So this was the layout I decided upon. Yeah, I would have liked to have added more, but that's the amount I had for now. I then did some nice seating for readers, and seats for the librarians with lecterns. So it was time for the next room that was going to come off the back of the library, and this is going to be the sunroom. I terraformed, and then I continued the spruce floor out and did a red carpet. I then did oak walls, And of course, because it's a sunroom, huge windows. Next, I did 2 seats. One of them I did bench style, and one I did a set of chairs facing each other. And then I placed down the 4 extra bookshelves I had saved for this room. I went back to the main room, and on this wall right here, I decided to do a wall of paintings. See, this is another feature I used to see a lot more than I do now, so I thought it might be a neat decoration to add. And then it was time for the roof. I did this one out of spruce as well. See, it's pretty interesting that I see spruce get used a lot less than dark oak, even though they're pretty similar looking. I think, maybe because spruce is a little lighter, it sees less use as like the default dark wood. But either way, I'm happy to use it here. Now, for the sunroom roof, I took inspiration from Joe's restaurant by doing another triangle roof for one room and flat roof for the other. Now, of course, it came out very different here because the sunroom's a lot smaller than the main room, kind of the opposite of Joe's, but I love how this came out again. Now that the main building is done, I wanted to do something extra. Find out exactly how many books are in the library to figure out what my villagers have access to entertainment-wise. So first, I took a screenshot of the bookshelf and I counted 16 individual books. Then I did the same for the lectern. Now, I'm pretty sure that these 2 red books here are separate. They have different color spines, different color titles. Now, the only reason I doubt is that even though they're different colors, they are still shades of red and yellow, and they're both the same height. But they're otherwise pretty different, and I checked the original bookshelf, and there are no 3-pixel wide books on it, so I'm 90% sure there are 4 books on the lectern. Then on the sunroom seat, both sides cut off most of the books on their respective shelves, but both have 4 books fully exposed and 1 book cut off halfway. I'm not going to count the cut off book, so each of these are only going to contribute 4 books. Then, I counted the faces of all the bookshelves exposed, which was 36, times that by 16, add 8 from the benches, 8 from the lecterns, and you get 592 books in my library. A very respectable amount, and lots of entertainment for my villagers for the foreseeable future. See, the great thing also is that librarians actually sell bookshelves, so once I get some of them in, getting more bookshelves will be a breeze for the next library I build. Now, remember earlier when I said cities don't focus enough on making good areas for people to hang out? And when I said that building the library here was for a second reason that we would get back to later? Here's the reason. So, for this area out the left archway door, I did an outside patio with its own seating. And I gave it a path that connects all the way down to the farmer's market that we built earlier. And I gave it some outside benches, which are seats that can be used by both the library and the farmer's market. I also added some trees for extreme extra caution against the archery range, and flowers for extra beauty. And genuinely right as I'm writing the script, I realized I could so easily connect this area up to the archery range as well, so I came in and added that too. And here we go. Now we have this great area where you can get some lunch, sit in the park, get a book from the library, and go to the archery range, all for free. Except for the lunch part, the villagers charge for food, but what can you do about that? But so hey, what a cool area we've built here. And then zooming out, look at the new district we've built. This is going to be a fantastic place for villagers, and it solves our food problem. See, let's take a look at the villager lunch plate now. We now newly have beetroot soup, the villagers' first soup by the way, steak, milk, and the villagers in the north neighborhood now have access to all the fishing goods and vice versa. So look at the total variety of foods the villagers can eat now. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I just wanted to say a few things. This is live, by the way. I'm going to harvest some beetroots while I talk. But on my last video, in my conclusion, I said that my videos had blown up a lot and I didn't really know what to say. And since then, they've blown up even more. And I've had a little time to think about what I wanted to say here at the end. I just want to say you guys are all so great. And I know that's what every YouTuber says. But all the comments I've gotten that have been overwhelmingly nice. And seeing you guys make videos of your own inspired by these videos, it puts a smile on my face. It's so fantastic. So I don't want to get sappy here. I just want to say you guys are fantastic. I really appreciate it all. I'm going to keep making these videos, and I'm so happy that you're enjoying them, and I'm enjoying making them so much. So Yeah, thank you so much, and have a great night, y'all. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.